Haaland let Norway down Ivory Coast 2-1 in the round of 32 to make it to the round of 16 in a pulsating encounter between two high-quality nations. Defensively, they're pretty solid, compact, not easy to break down, but equally going forwards, even if they may not be the most dynamic side, they're a highly functional side. It's really impressive, again, given the fact Norway, having made this World Cup for the first time after 28 years, to put in the showing they have and to compete the way they have against top nations in a difficult group, of course, and now beating a high quality Ivory Coast side is remarkable. It is really, really impressive. So great going for the Vikings. But as for the Ivory Coast, there are so many question marks I have, and it is just so disappointing and heartbreaking. My heart really goes out to all the Ivory Coast people because this team deserved better. They deserved more. I actually thought Ivory Coast were the better side throughout the course of the 90 minutes. It all means very little when you aren't as decisive as your opposition in the final third, when you're as wasteful as they were. 14 corners did Les Elephants have, yet they didn't even come close to troubling Neeland in net. Mezefe also has lots of question marks. I mean, how he benched Amad Diallo again, who's been their best player now for the best part of the last 12 to 18 months, scored the decisive winner against Ecuador in the group stage. Yet the audacity to bench him again was startling. And it didn't come to anyone's surprise that Diallo made the difference when he came off the bench, but it was too little too late, you know. There's no explanation for benching your star attacker. What I really despised to see as well was that as Ivory Coast equalized, they dropped back, which made no sense because they were the ones leading the game. They were the ones in the ascendancy and had the control of huge parts of the game, yet they felt the need to drop back whilst just after they equalized and not really push on from the momentum they had from equalizing. That was just so bizarre and startling to see, and that's what led to their detriment and their downfall. That is where the Haaland goal came from. Just because they sat back, they dropped deep for no reason, mind you, because they were very comfortable in this game. It wasn't like Norway were very imposing. It was very much self-inflicted. This cowardly approach that Faye instilled, as well as just the inferiority complex I felt like Ivory Coast had, and often I've seen African nations have at these knockout stages or whenever they play the bigger nations. It is just so jarring to see. It is beyond disappointing and heartbreaking because Ivory Coast are more than good enough to compete. Truth be told, they really should have given the game state. Yet they let themselves down, and I feel like half the battle is mental as it is when we come to these knockouts. So when you have such fickle, weak mentality, you're not really going to get anywhere, and that's what Ivory Coast and other African nations as well, unfortunately, have found out in these knockouts. But for Norway, it's an unbelievable achievement. Erling Haaland, that man again, has scored 5 goals already. Norway also became the first European nation to progress in their maiden World Cup knockout tie after Ukraine in 2016, and as a result, the Vikings have set up a blockbuster fixture in the round of 16 against Brazil on Sunday. Les Elephants and the Viking fans, let me know in the comments below what you made of this intriguing encounter. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment and follow for more World Cup and football related content coming your way.